We make financial decisions out of fear. At least many. We make political decisions out of fear. At least some. Related to fear in some way. We make career decisions based on what we think is sustainable, what we think we can continually do, or perhaps it's the best we can get at the time. And it's the best job we can get, and we don't want to go broke, so we get that. We make a lot of decisions out of fear. And while this is good for our survival, even societally, with our family, with how we exist in the world, it's okay to make decisions that is related to fear in that way. But if we make spiritual, religious, soul decisions about our soul, or what we believe deep down and the nature of things, if we make spiritual decisions based on fear, then we're using a mechanism that was designed to help us survive as animals and in society. We're using that to make decisions in relation to our soul. Our soul, which is not limited, not finite. That isn't as tied down as our body, our existence in society. Is not confined to, how am I going to eat? How do I remain healthy? How do I support my family, my friends? How do I live a fulfilled life? The soul is beyond all of that. So why should we bring fear and calculations related to our soul? Now, every single individual soul is a small flick of gold off the grander ingot of gold. Call it God, Brahman, the ultimate reality, Purusha. That is the truest and transcendent truth and reality that is the highest divine. That is not here necessarily. Now, God, Brahman, is immanent, which means it's in everything, but we can't readily see it with the same kind of eyes that we view everything else with. Because every single individual soul is God cloaked, is God here, but that individual soul needs help in removing that cloak, that Maya, that illusion and grander delusion that keeps us from being able to choose to take off that cloak, to take off those clothes that is this body, this personality, this individual. The difference is if Godhead, Brahman, if a section of that came right down to help the rest of the souls, the rest of the jivas, it could take off that cloak, those clothes that it takes on. It could take it off at any second and be free. We as individual souls, we can't do that yet. So we need help from Brahman, from the grander soul. That's why we have spiritual paths. That's why we have even religions. For that transcendent, still immanent, because we're never not a part of that. We just can't see it because we have that cloak. So it is immanent. God is immanent in everything, but it is cloaked. But religions and spiritual paths exist in order to show us and have avatars, pieces of that Godhead that came down, the flakes of gold off the ingot. Religions and avatars, spiritual paths exist to help us take off that cloak of Maya, to realize past the illusion, realize the nature of this grander delusion, and then achieve moksha, liberation, enlightenment, final liberation. So, if spiritual paths are meant to do this, religions are meant to do this, meant to help us take off the cloak that is around our souls, to join once again with the grander soul from which we came, the infinite soul from which we came, to realize our infinity, then why should we make spiritual and religious decisions based on fear of hell, a fear of a negative afterlife, or a fear of being utterly destroyed, There's some Christians, I believe, the soul who doesn't want to go back to God in a very particular way will just get destroyed, which is impossible. Soul can't be destroyed, but some Christians believe that. Some Christians believe that people, if you're not Christian in a certain way, or if you're not Christian, any kind of Christian, then you'll go to hell forever. Guaranteeing the separation from that piece of God with the grander piece of God, which doesn't make any sense. Everything must go back to its source, as all rivers lead back to the ocean. No, everything isn't meant to be separated forever, so it doesn't make any sense. But a lot of people make those religious decisions based on fear of hell, or what priests have told them for over decades, over centuries, over millennia, in order to make sure that they stay in line and that they follow, rather than asking questions and progressing towards God themselves, needing an intermediary, which makes more money for the church. But similar case with Islam, and similar case Zoroastrianism, some Hindus even. But there's a whole lot of people making decisions about the infinity of their soul based on limited fears related to the body, related to what is temporal. We should not make spiritual religious decisions based on fear. We should make them based on an understanding of our soul. How do we get to understand our soul? Spiritual practices, meditation, and reading spiritual books helps. But first and foremost, do not begin your journey with fear of hell or fear of some kind of negative afterlife. Because the two arguments, or the way we exist in the world and that guiding our spiritual path, they aren't consistent. How we exist in the world and that fear is consistent, but the nature, the infinity of our soul is not consistent with fear, is not in the same relationship with fear as this temporary person that we are. So don't make decisions based on fear, because they can guide you for a while, but you'll find that the road it's kind of a dead end when you start with fear. Now, you can grow out of fear. You can start with fear and then grow out of it. But fear is not something that you should take with you for your whole spiritual journey, no matter what that journey is. And you shouldn't make major decisions on what you believe or what you do spiritually based on fear. At any rate, I hope this video was interesting. I hope that I didn't ramble too much. Sometimes I tend to do that when I'm in the graveyard. But yeah, if you like this video at all, hit that thumbs up down there. It helps out the channel. Feel free to share this wherever you like. And most importantly, I hope all of you have a wonderful day. New graves are magical spots. You can kind of feel the energy transfer, the process of the soul merging back to a deeper, truer reality. They feel a little bit different than older graves. They have a freshness about them. As we cast off our energies slowly but surely, the process of melding, of becoming, of freeing is a wonderful one. It is one that has a beauty to it. Older graves have a different kind of beauty, but new graves have a fresh, instilled kind of beauty. The beginning of the process, not the end, but the beginning. Though children's graves are a sad reminder of how often children used to die earlier, there's something special and hopeful about their graves as well. They weren't as identified with the body. They didn't have time to be. So it was easier for them to go to their next life, meld back into a deeper reality before manifesting again. So while when we think about them, we might be sad, there's also something wonderful about their ability to cast off the body, because they never became attached to it. They just didn't have time. So they can be a joyful reminder as well that those who are not attached, those who never had time to be attached, that the process is much quicker for them, and the journey home continues on. The little things that we leave at graves become a part of their energetic and physical landscape. It's always good to leave the things that other people leave remaining at graves, because now they're the property of the dead. I've been working with this grave for some time, as you can see, and now it's become a part of the energetic landscape. Physical as well, though physically definitely not as prominent as energetically. Another reminder that life in a graveyard takes many forms, and new life blossoms as it does everywhere else. The numbers on graves, the years of birth and death, are reminders of time, the limited nature of our existence. And yet, those years cannot be taken away from the individual. They will always have had those years. They will have always been a person. And this encapsulated brief journey, though just shown in numbers and a name, can remind us that we end, but there's a part of us that does not. This person, these people, are other people now, or they've achieved final liberation.